What's the pettiest D move in human history? I'd have to say when Michelangelo was painting the Sistine Chapel, and he painted one of his most hated people in his depiction of hell, getting his genitalia bitten off by a snake. What a way to send a message. The British campaign to make the world think Napoleon was short. Probably not the pettiest move, but definitely a move. King Edward was assaulting a Scottish castle. Proceeded to build giant trebuchet. The Scots surrendered upon seeing it. Edward then ordered them back into the castle and proceeded to fire on it, because he wanted to use the trebuchet. If a city didn't surrender, the Mongols would sack it, kill or enslave the population and move on. But they wouldn't all move on. So when the inhabitants of the sacked city that were in hiding would come out thinking it was safe, the Mongols would also come out of hiding and slaughter the remaining people. One of the reasons they were so successful is they didn't half-ass anything. During the French Revolution, Maximilien de Robespierre was signing a lot of people to the guillotine for execution, even his own comrades. Long story short, he wasn't telling who was on the list, so in fear of the possibility of being on the list, a bunch of other revolutionaries came to arrest him, so Maximilien shot himself in the face and didn't die. So they left him to bleed for a while in a cell, healed up his bleeding as best as possible, then executed him the next day. Russian Tsar Peter the Great's wife Catherine was found out to be cheating on him, so he had her lover beheaded and had his head pickled and put into Catherine's chambers, despite him himself having cheated on many occasions. Daniel Kotke was Apple employee number 12 and at one point a close friend of Steve Jobs, meeting him at Reed College in 1972. Daniel was heavily involved in building and testing the early versions of the Apple II computer, and later built some of the first prototypes of the Apple II and the Macintosh computers. When Apple went public, Jobs refused to give him any stock. Jobs' whole life was pretty much a petty D move. In 1994, Charlotte Repertory Theatre was granted one of the few licenses to mount a production of Angels in America, which was massively popular at the time. Several religiously conservative groups in town were appalled at the thought, since the play has a gay main character, deals with AIDS, and has a brief flash of male nudity. They tried everything in their power to stop the play from happening, but it was far too popular in the city, it was receiving national recognition, and there was that pesky First Amendment standing in their way. There were even bomb and death threats, but the Charlotte PD made sure the show opened without incident. It became Charlotte Rep's most popular show ever. The opponents were fairly embarrassed, and tried to think of a way to get back. Some of them were on the Charlotte City Council, so during the following year when it was time to make the budget, they tried to get the City Art Council to cut all their funding to Charlotte Rep. They weren't allowed to do that, again because of the First Amendment, so instead, they cut all funding to every art group. That's right, every after-school art program, the City Opera and Symphony, everyone that received funding from the City Art Council lost it the following year just so this group could retaliate against the Rep. Let's be honest here, spending 3 hours to dump 342 chests of tea into a harbor. Like, I get you are mad at the tax, but come on, there are better ways than turning the harbor into the biggest cup of tea. When Mary Queen of Scots got pregnant, she asked Elizabeth I, her cousin who couldn't have children, to be the godmother of the child, an offer she couldn't refuse because it would make her look terrible. So Elizabeth I accepted, knowing that this child would mean the end of the Tudor dynasty ruling over England, and Mary Queen of Scots knew this too, so she just did it out of spite. So the Greek tyrant Phalaris called for the invention of a torture device. It was kind of his thing, torturing people, and when it was finished by Pyrrhus, well, I'll let Wikipedia tell it. Stories allege after finishing construction on the execution device, Pyrrhus said to Phalaris, "His screams will come to you through the pipes as the tenderest, most pathetic, most melodious of bellowings." Pyrrhus believed he would receive a reward for his invention. Instead, Phalaris, who was disgusted by these words, ordered its horn sound system to be tested by Pyrrhus himself, tricking him into getting in the bull. When Pyrrhus entered, he was immediately locked in and the fire was set, so that Phalaris could hear the sound of his screams. Before Pyrrhus could die, Phalaris opened the door and took him away. After freeing him from the bull, Phalaris is then said to have taken Perillus to the top of a hill and thrown him off, killing him. I know the answer is going to be some variation of because he's a D, but why did he do that? I'm pretty sure he was legit a sociopath psychopath. In his bio he was told to have enjoyed eating freshly born babies. No idea if that's true, but if that's the story that gets told to explain how someone was as a person, if it's even halfway deserved, shows a pretty effed up person. Damn. St. Petersburg, 1739. Prince Mikhail Alexeyevich Golitsyn of Russia offended the Empress Anna Ivanovna by marrying an Italian woman. After his wife died, the Empress had a giant ice palace built, replete with ice sculptures and even ice cannon. She had the prince dressed as a jester and forcibly married to an ugly peasant woman in a big mock ceremony, attended by animals and circus freaks. She then shut them naked into an icy chamber to freeze to death. They only survived because the prince's new wife managed to bribe a guard for a coat. There's also the one where Genghis Khan sent ambassadors and a trade caravan to establish a trading alliance with a neighboring territory and they were executed. Then Genghis Khan decided that was pretty effed up, since ambassadors were viewed as untouchable, and decided not to establish a trading relationship and instead conquered most of what is now called the Middle East. From Wikipedia. Genghis then sent a 500-man caravan of Muslims to establish official trade ties with Khwarezmia. However, in Aljuk, the governor of the Khwarezmian city of Otra, had the members of the caravan that came from Mongolia arrested, claiming that the caravan was a conspiracy against Khwarezmia. It seems unlikely, however, that any members of the trade delegation were spies. Nor does it seem likely that Genghis was trying to initiate a conflict with the Khwarezmid Empire with the caravan, considering he was making steady progress against a faltering Jin Empire in northern China at that very moment. Genghis Khan then sent a second group of 3 ambassadors, 1 Muslim and 2 Mongols, to meet the Shah himself and demand the caravan at Otra be set free and the governor be handed over for punishment. The Shah had both of the Mongols shaved and had the Muslim beheaded before sending them back to Genghis Khan. Muhammad also ordered the personnel of the caravan to be executed. This was seen as a grave affront to the Khan himself, who considered ambassadors as sacred and inviolable. This led Genghis Khan to attack the Khwarezmian dynasty. The Mongols crossed the Tian Shan Mountains, coming into the Shah's empire in 1219. I guess you mess with the bull, you get the horns. Xerxes whipping the ocean. According to the Greek historian Herodotus, Xerxes' first attempt to bridge the Hellespont ended in failure when a storm destroyed the flax and papyrus cables of the bridges. In retaliation, Xerxes ordered the Hellespont, the strait itself, whipped 300 times, and had fetters thrown into the water. Xerxes' second attempt to bridge the Hellespont was successful. Someone betting $1 above someone else in The Price is Right and winning. Well guys, that's it for my first video. I apologize if the video is a bit scuffed, but quality will improve as I become more accustomed to making these kinds of videos. If there is anything I can improve on, please let me know in the comments, as I want to make these videos to the best of my ability. Expect videos daily, and if you like this video, hit the subscribe button. It won't bite. If you want to support the channel, the best thing you can do is simply watch the videos. But if you really want to see the channel thrive, subscribe, like, comment, add to favorites, add to playlist, and share with friends. Thank you guys so much, and I'll see you with tomorrow's upload.